Did Yugoslavians exist? There is no short answer. Let's see how it all went down. The name Yugoslavia meant the land of South Slavs. Slavs are divided in three groups: East Slavs, West Slavs, and South Slavs. There are no North Slavs. South Slavs were never a homogeneous group. By definition, South Slavs live in the Balkans. We speak very similar languages. But in all other things, South Slavs are very different. Some South Slavs are Orthodox Christians, while others are Catholics and Muslims. Some South Slavs were part of Byzantine Empire and Ottoman Empire, while others remained under Habsburg Empire. In the 19th century, South Slavs wanted independence. The idea of Yugoslavia was born. But it took decades to make Yugoslavia a reality. In 1918, the Kingdom of Serbs, Croats and Slovenes was formed. The country changed its name to Yugoslavia in 1929. Now there was the idea to create a Yugoslav nation. The situation can be compared to USA and Americans. Americans were created from immigrants from all over the world. Now many Americans think of themselves as only Americans. The similar thing happened in Yugoslavia. Majority of people kept their national identity. But minority adopted Yugoslav as their nationality. Yugoslavia recognized nations and nationalities. Nations were called narodi. It included the constituent Slavic nations. Nationalities were called narodnosti. It included ethnic minorities. Ethnic minorities included Slavic and non-Slavic groups. Approximately 26 ethnic groups lived in Yugoslavia. Why am I using the word approximately? Some ethnic minorities are disputed. Croats claim that Bunjevci are in fact Croats. But Yugoslavia recognized Bunjevci as a separate ethnic minority. When studying Yugoslav population census, one will notice huge differences between censuses. People often change how they registered. The changes didn't always mean that people moved. Why did people change their nationality? In some cases, individuals believed they would benefit from changing their nationality. But in other cases, people felt like Yugoslavians. In 1961 general census, there were 1.7% Yugoslavians. This is a rather small percentage. In 1971 census, the number of Yugoslavians further dropped to 1.3%. This is a result of crisis in Yugoslavia in late 1960s and early 1970s. People were reluctant to believe in the official motto of brotherhood and unity. In 1981 census, the number of Yugoslavians rose sharply to 5.4%. I think major factor was Tito's death in 1980. Yugoslavia was united in their grief as Tito was very popular. Plus, there were more mixed marriages. A child whose parents belonged to different nations was likely to register as Yugoslav. As Yugoslav, the child wouldn't have to choose between parents. But mixed marriages were never predominant. Most people married within their ethnic group. Parents could register their children as they liked. There were many unique and peculiar cases. Some claimed they were forced to register under different nationality. This opens possibility for manipulations. Unfortunately, Yugoslav officials often changed how they conducted censuses. Sometimes it was easier for a person to register as Yugoslavian. Also, communist officials pressured parents to register their children as the state preferred. During the 1980s, parents were often told it would be nice to register their child as Yugoslavian. Undecided parents went with the suggestion. Knowing this, my parents went to register my birth. And my mother said, "My daughter is Serb child born in Serbia to Serb parents." It might sound like overstatement, but it had to be done like this to avoid being registered as Yugoslavian. Slowly, Yugoslav nation was replacing Serbs in Serbia. It was a slow process and would have continued if Yugoslavia survived. Let's see the numbers. In 1961, in Serbia, there were 20,000 Yugoslavians. This is really a small number. But in 1971, there were 123,000 Yugoslavians. Yugoslavians made 1.47% of total population of Serbia. Still, the number is not overly huge. But in 1981, there were 441,000 Yugoslavians in Serbia. This was 4.75% of total population. If things continued in the same direction, there would have been a million Yugoslavians in Serbia in 1991. They would have made 10% of population. I don't believe Serbs would completely disappear. But Yugoslavs might have become a majority in Serbia by 2050. Yugoslav wars brought a reversal of the process. The idea of Yugoslavia was becoming outdated. In 1991, most people knew the end of Yugoslavia was nearing. In 1991 census, there were 343,000 Yugoslavians in Serbia. That's 22.2% drop from 1981. But in 1991, some were still hoping that unity would be preserved. In 2002 census, no one had such naive notions. Only 80,000 people registered as Yugoslavians. Yugoslavia still existed. The country's name was changed in 2003 to Serbia and Montenegro. In 2006, Montenegro left the Union. Serbia regained independence in 2006. In 2011 census, there were only 23,000 Yugoslavians in Serbia. Huge majority were older people who were nostalgic about Yugoslavia. Will Yugoslavians disappear when these generations die out? Apparently not. Each year, some newborns are registered as Yugoslavians. This is more like statistical error than trend. Did the same thing happen in other former Yugoslav republics? Yes. They all had Yugoslavians as minorities, and their number is constantly dropping between censuses. Interestingly, Yugoslavians are born among diaspora communities. I laughed when I read that several Yugoslav babies were born in Switzerland in 2021. How do I feel about the idea of Yugoslavians? I never had anything against people who declare to be Yugoslavians. They have the right to be registered as Yugoslavians. I do understand older people who still feel as Yugoslavians. They have fond memories of Yugoslavia. But registering your child as Yugoslavian in 2021 sounds eccentric. Yugoslavia is gone and will never be reunited.